Morning, Andy. It's saying you're on mute. Can you unmute it? Oh no, that's fine. We can hear you. I don't know why it's saying you're on mute. Right. I'll just hand over to yourself, but I will be here in the background in presenter mode if you have any issues. If you just let me know.
Perfect. Thanks, Esther. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time this morning to join the conference. What I'm going to do is hopefully share a quick. I'll take you through our sort of digital transformation that we kicked off just over 12 months ago, and that partnership with Microsoft. And as I say, hopefully an opportunity to ask many questions at the end. So what I'm going to cover today is a Cloud Navigator program, which was the first in Scotland with Microsoft as our partner. More importantly, about enabling and empowering our people, because our people were really what drove this transformation. And as I said, some questions at the end. Okay, so what was Microsoft Navigator? It was across 4 themes. So first theme was Office 365 and adoption and change. The purpose of that is that within Aberdeen, what we really did was, okay, we've implemented Office 365, but from that, it was really just an Outlook upgrade, so we weren't really using it to its full functionality. We also had a phase around migrating everything to the cloud, so an Azure migration. We implemented chatbots, so Azure AI, and we implemented some robotic process automation, some RPA. So four key themes around this program of work, and absolutely moved us from a council that was really in the low quartile for digital enablement to really pushing ourselves up to the top. So where did we start? I mentioned people and really important about people as such, because many transformations, as you know, fail because we don't get the buy-in, or we can spend all the money we want on technology, but if people don't use it, then we're not really getting a return on that investment. So huge effort in our readiness, huge effort in buy-in, so sponsorship. So that sponsorship was from myself and a corporate management team. I'm very visible around that. Also recognizing that our managers, yes, they've had some development and training, but not about being a digital leader. So what it is to lead in a digital age. So part of that was really equipping them to understand how to redesign their services with their teams, but using technologies or enabling technologies that were kind of either with us just now or about to come to us in the future. And most importantly was our Digital Champions Network, which is people across our organization that are really championing our digital transformation and really crucial to our successes. So Office 365, you all know what Office 365 is. As I mentioned, really why we went down the route of Office 365 was really upgrading Outlook and Exchange and things like that. But what we wanted to do was make sure that we were using Office 365 to its full potential. So Forrester does some really great benchmarking and some great data sets and around how if you adopt Office 365, it can really improve and drive efficiency within our organization. So we baselined against some of those measures. What wasn't a surprise to us is that we were only really using around 20 to 25% of the functionality of Office 365. And again, if you look across the UK, in fact, private and public, that measure isn't surprising. Those organizations that really don't invest in adopting Office 365 will be low quartile. So there's 4 key themes within Office 365 for us. Collaboration, which is really not just using email and things like that or Teams, but really using OneDrive, sharing documents, collaborating on one version of the truth, not saving multiple versions in different drives left, right and center. That multidisciplinary team, so working multi-agency on that one version of the truth, making sure that we can share and collaborate on that one document as well. Communication, I think COVID's driven this one hugely for us all, but obviously we're looking at Teams channels, Teams chat, and linking that into, again, document collaboration. And mobility, making sure that our workforce could access technologies from any device, whether it be a council device or whether it be their own device, whether it be an iPad, a phone, whatever. So 4 key themes that we're really driving for efficiency savings, to be honest. I mentioned super digital champions as such. So there's some really key, this was our journey. It took us about a year, and we've done a lot of focus in making sure that the business was ready, that we have people within our organization that were really championing the change that we were going. And on this journey map, it's a bit busy, but there's some key things. So we started in October 2019. In February, March and 20, we actually pushed the migration of all our old drives to Teams, so using cloud and things like that, and we decommissioned Skype. We also launched Bring Your Own Device to allow that mobility. That was the first big shove to not only with the training, but to make sure that people were adopting the right tools for that collaboration. April, in the top left, what you'll see is that we established super champs. And we started to roll out specific training to clusters, identifying where some clusters or service areas weren't using the technologies or had low adoption rates, and a real focus on that. And we continue on that journey. Now, this network that we've created is absolutely crucial. As I say, we can spend all the money on technology that we want, and that's great. So we can give the tools, but if people don't use them, then as I say, there's no return on that investment. So we created that digital champion network, first of all, that I mentioned. There's over 280 of those across our organization, and they do this over and above their day job. They're passionate about technology. They know the Microsoft Office 365 tool set really well, and they assist in communications, they act as a coach, they're visible within their cluster areas, and they contribute to our Microsoft journey going forward. We've got digital super champions. They've been given a little bit more training by Microsoft themselves. They attend fortnightly meetings. They're the main point of contact for our service areas if they're looking to redesign or use some of the Office 365 tools a little bit more effectively. And again, a great network. And then as we've progressed through our journey, we've really looked at change practitioners. And these are the people that where within a service that we identify that we really need to redesign that sort of service offering for our customer. They work with the chief officers, the managers, the people within the teams to really, really harness Office 365 capabilities to improve the way that they work. So this has absolutely been crucial to the success of adopting our Office 365. And what I would say is that on Office 365, we've moved from those 20% adoption to 80% adoption of Office 365. And that's created absolutely amazing efficiencies across our organization, and a big, big win for us. Bit of a boring slide here, I must admit, for anyone that's non-techie. This was our Microsoft move to the cloud and looking at the transition to Azure. A bit of learning for us as a council. We're quite complex in that we've got really old systems. So this hasn't been an easy journey for us. So what was hopefully going to be 18-month program, you can see we've had to extend it up to two years, to be honest, just over 2 years. But you can see that we're looking at 493 servers, and hopefully we'll get them down to half. The half remaining will be old legacy type systems that need to stay on-prem. We also looked at Rpa and Chat Bots, and we've implemented both. This is a nice little simple slide from Deloitte. I'm sure many of you have seen it, recognizing that machines are better at some task and activity and humans better than others. So this was about how we could harness those automations, chatbots, RPA, and make sure that we could divert our humans, our people, to that frontline service where they needed to display more of that understanding, pivot on, and be able to make quick decisions that may not be very process-driven, and actually be empathetic with our customer. So meet AB1. This is our chatbot. AB1 is both internal and external, so hosted on our intranet and hosted on our internet. Internally, AB1 will respond to HR queries, payroll queries, leave entitlements, all that type of thing. And we get about 50, 60 transactions a day through AB1 that it responds to very cleverly, actually. And it learns all the time from the questions that are being asked. Externally, more importantly for us, again, huge significant savings here. AB1's 365, 24/7, and a range of services, everything from waste management to education, school terms, school meals, everything within that. But more importantly, at the time of COVID, AB1 was able to respond to COVID type questions. And we were approximately on external, it can be anything between 700 queries per week to 1,000 queries per week. And again, that's created a huge efficiency and more than paid for itself in its investment. Our RPA, just very quickly for RPA, we did take a step back and look at the types of process that was ready for RPA. And we kind of put it through 4 criteria. We look at the challenge. We look to make sure that our systems are capable for RPA adoption. We look at some critical factors, making sure that the information's in a digital format, that business rules are quite defined, and that there's good process mapping. We then look at complexity, understanding how complex the process is, making sure that, again, applications are very stable to allow that. And then we look at return on investment. So if we were to implement the RPA, what is the savings that we could achieve off the back of that? So for us in Aberdeen, we're in phase 2 now, but we've already delivered phase 1, and we've also started to create a backlog. What's really interesting about our RPA journey is that we haven't just done the easy type processes. We've really looked at cross-service and multi-agency. So there's 2 in here that have been really effective for us. The child plans, that's actually where our teachers have to create a child plan for every child. And what normally happens is the teacher would enter that into a document, and then that would have to be rekeyed into our SEMA system, a system that's used across Scotland. What happens now is the teacher still prepares that plan, but then the RPA lifts that and pushes all that information into SEMAS for us. And that's created the efficiency of 14 teachers, so it's equivalent to putting 14 more teachers into our classrooms. So really significant on that one. And the other interesting one for me is the Children's Police Vulnerable Person Discounts. That's number 7 on that line. So again, multi-agency. This is where the police service work with ourselves, our health and social care partners, and they may ask for vulnerable persons details. It's quite a cumbersome type process. It relies on email and things like that. But now we've put RPA in place. It actually takes all the information from the police and assigns it to the right practitioner and pulls all that information back and gives it to the police. And it's very quick, improves accuracy, improves speed, and something that's really critical for the service. So in around RPA, it was important for us to demonstrate that it could be applied in any type of service, not just heavy transactional type services as well. Our journey continues. So yes, we've been really successful with our Microsoft partnership, and you know that's recognised on the UK stage. In fact, it's recognised across Europe as well. But where our journey is going to continue now is in Microsoft Dynamics 365, and that's an enterprise solution for CRM. And we're really redesigning technology around social care and making sure that our practitioner is defining what they need from the technology. So it's quite interesting, this space for us as we move on. Microsoft really supporting us in this space. And as I say, it links all the technologies in the Microsoft product suite as well, which is really nice. To summarize, our successes was built on looking at transformation, not just changing things around the edges, popping up an online form, for example, really using those enabling technologies to their best. It was really about engaging our people and making sure that our people led from the front. There was clear sponsorship across our organisation, good partner selection, and the results in the delivery, I think they speak for themselves. It was a multi-million pound investment, and the return on investment, that was paid back within 18 months, which is unusual in a technology implementation, but more so that adoption of Office 365 has made us more efficient and seen us move from a 20% adoption up to 80% adoption, which is market leading. And that just leaves me to offer to answer any of the questions that anyone may have.
Thanks very much, Andy. So somebody's asked a question in the chat regarding the chatbots. And I mean, any chatbot, of course, is only as good as the data that you feed it and the process that sits behind it. So somebody was just asking a wee bit around how you actually approach that.
Yeah, so absolutely, it is about the quality of the information. What I would say with the chatbot is that as a technology, Azure AI chatbot, it's really quite easy to navigate around, and it's quite easy to make sure that the information that is pulling from is quite effective. So as long as you've got your information up to date, or you point it to information that you know is up to date, so you can determine where it pulls its information from, and you do have to make sure that it is up to date. AB1 learns as well as it goes. And what I would say is that although this was an IT program, it's actually not IT people that program AB1. It's actually experience officers. So who better for AB1 to learn from as to the people that are actually delivering the services and know where to access information, or actually know the answers to some of the questions that were asked, and then can feed that into the technology.
So I mean that's quite an interesting approach, Andy. I was just wondering, like when you were talking earlier around your vision and the sponsorship, like how did you actually sell your vision to the wider leadership team and the and the organisation as a whole? Sometimes it can be difficult, particularly with something like 365. It's seen as a technology project, but of course it's got a huge benefit in relation to transformation. And I'm just wondering how you told that story.
Yeah. So first of all, I suppose with me sponsoring, although I've got digital and technology within my remit, I'm not a techie as such. So I can navigate my way around technologies. I understand what they do, but I'm not. I'm just not that techie at all. So selling that vision as such was really important to make sure that our people didn't see it as a threat. So it wasn't about removing people's roles. It was about improving the way that they work and making sure that we could divert any capacity into critical services onto that front line. So yes, it's created efficiencies, which means that we don't have to backfill roles, but it wasn't actually getting rid of people, which is people's main fear, certainly in the context that we work in. So that was really important. Also, we engaged with the trade unions early on, so we never hid anything. We shared the program, we shared what it was about, and what we were quite deliberate on where we did a showcase of the technology. So we did it in an area that you would have felt wasn't natural. So teachers, for example, social care workers, and then showed the power that it can do. So then we got the organisation actually saying, wow, this is actually brilliant. It really helps me in my role and things like that. So it's very important. Lots of engagement. The Digital Champion Network is absolutely key. They are such an enthusiastic bunch. And if I was to look at the success of the programme, it's definitely that group that's really driven it for us. So it's all within the organisation.
And I think that's quite interesting, the numbers that you talk about, because some people, they talk about having digital champions and they may be talking about 30 or 50 people. But I think really when you're talking about having nearly 300 people across the organisation, you've really got that critical mass to help you have that ripple effect. And I can see how that would be quite powerful. Just the other thing, there's another question in the chat, but I just wanted to pick up just what you were saying around the efficiencies and not necessarily about savings. So I know that one of the things that tends to be quite challenging, particularly around RPA, is that at an executive level, people see RPA and see it as a sort of silver bullet in relation to delivering the savings, the robots will do the jobs and we can save loads of money on the people. And actually there's a bit of a disconnect there around what the reality is, and sometimes I think the business case can be quite a difficult sell sometimes with RPA, and I just wondered if you could talk about that in any more detail around your business case, and again that kind of getting buy-in, particularly at the executive level.
Yeah, so the buy-in at executive level, at the end of the day, it was myself that was driving it, so it was there. We don't call it bots as such. I know I put that in my presentation. We use the term virtual worker. And irrespective of the communications that you put around it, people are apprehensive because they think they're replacing their jobs. Well, what we've demonstrated is we always use the word capacity creation. So now what we do as an organization with that capacity is absolutely up to ourselves, but we don't say, FTE saving, we don't say job reductions, we, virtual workers and capacity creation. And that's the terminology that we all use. I think, to be honest, you've got to do a lot of engagement with the teams when you first deploy, and you've got to make sure we use people within the teams to learn the technologies as well, even the RPA. So really important to get that buy-in, that support, and actually you've got to prove, you try and go on trust, and then you've got to prove that this isn't about job reductions. This is about making sure that you can divert your resource onto more crucial type work. And we've been able to do that across our processes. So,
so whilst it's not about job reductions, I'm sure you've got the same savings as all the other councils to make. And are you able to then do that really through no filling vacancies and recruitment fees and?
Absolutely. So we do still recruit externally, but really at the margins for roles that we might not have the qualification, skills or knowledge within our organisation. We've got quite a robust I'll call it redeployment, but retraining program as well, if required. We don't really need to use that very often. But it is ultimately about not replacing roles. So yes, we're in the same boat. We've got to reduce our headcount. However, we don't have it. We've got a no compulsory redundancy policy. So that's a little bit of reassurance for our people. And it is about deploying any capacity into other areas of our business.
I think it's really good seeing the kind of holistic approach that you've taken, Andy, that, the IT stuff can't sit in isolation, and there was a lot of chat yesterday as well around the importance of the people aspect of it. We've just got another question in the chat just asking about the the work that you've done and how that has helped the organisation under COVID.
Yeah,
it's like your fire alarm test.
It's like working from home. It's either a partial delivery or a fire alarm work. Yeah. So sorry, Esther. Were you asking about how it?
Just how what you've done has helped you in your COVID response.
Yeah. So it was really fortunate. So the program of work about the adoption was the week that we went into national lockdown, we had actually just migrated all of our O drives into Azure, things like that. We were already up with Teams, all of that piece. So within 40 hours, we had our workforce remotely working with no issues at all, which was really helpful. The other part of COVID is that I mentioned AB1. So we started to ensure that AB1 could respond to COVID type questions, and AB1 still does that today actually. So hundreds of queries, signposting to the right information, the actual facts, that was up and running within, I think it was the first 7 days actually of that lockdown. So again, that was really helpful. And then around Office 365, for as many people in the conference will be aware, like I said, we had supporting the vulnerable, shielding, making sure that our communities were safe. And there were huge data requests coming left, right and centre. And again, because we had adopted Office 365 and understood the tool set a little bit more effectively, we were able to use forms, we were able to use Office 365 to really move our data across multiple teams. So all in all, it actually equipped us really well. So I would say that's probably really fortunate, and it has helped our adoption moving forward.
Great. So I'm sure I could probably speak to you all day, Andy, with the questions that I've got regarding your approach, but that was an absolutely fantastic presentation, and we'll be sharing recordings of the presentation sort of through the website within the next couple of weeks. So thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.